welcome to my first official YouTube video. I've had this channel for ages and I tried posting over the years, but it never stuck. So hopefully this time it will work out. Anyway, today I'm going to show you how I made my sword socks. Before we begin, I would like to start with a little disclaimer. This is not a beginner-friendly pattern. Do not expect to make these as your first project. You need to have previous knowledge and know all the basics. So knitting, purling, working in the round, increasing, decreasing, and most importantly, how to do color work. That is all I have to say, so let's dive right into the tutorial. This is the yarn I decided to use for my socks, but you can definitely use any other sock yarn, just make sure the gauge is correct. I personally like to use these tiny circular needles. They are made specifically for knitting socks. I find them a lot more comfortable to use than other types of needles. However, you can also use double-pointed needles or regular circular needles. If you decide to use tiny circular needles, you'll still need double-pointed needles to make the toe section. This tutorial has 3 set sizes, so make sure to make a gauge swatch before you begin. If it's different than mine, you can change needles or size up or down to make sure you get the right fit for you. I linked in the description the colorwork charts you will need. There are 3 sizes that are slightly different to compensate for the different stitch counts, so make sure you use the correct one. You'll find the pattern written throughout the video, but I'll also do my best to explain everything. Depending on the size you're making, you'll begin by casting on 56, 64 or 72 stitches with the 2.5mm needles. I like to use the long tail cast on method, but you could use any other stretchy cast on methods. Once you have the correct amount of stitches, join in the round. This is how I like to join in the round, but if you have any other ways to do it, feel free to do so. You will start your first row with a 1x1 ribbing, so knit 1 per 1 all around. I personally prefer casting on and working the first row with my 2.5mm needles to make sure it's not too tight. After the first row of ribbing, switch to the 2mm needles and work 14 more rows. You should end up with 15 rows of 1x1 ribbing. If this is your first time knitting socks, make sure you use a stitch marker to mark the beginning of the round, as it can be a bit difficult to tell where it starts. Go ahead and switch back to the 2.5mm needles. You'll now start just knitting in the round. For the first row, you'll have to make some increases to make sure you have the correct amount of stitches for the colorwork chart. For size small, you'll need to increase 4 stitches. For size medium, you'll need to increase 2 stitches. And for size large, you don't need to do any increases. You can use your preferred method to increase, it's not important. You'll then work 3 more rows of knitting in the round before starting the color work. A little side note before you begin with the color work, it's really important to keep the floating yarns loose, because you want to keep the stretchiness of the socks. This is why I recommend having some previous experience doing color work, as it takes a little bit of practice. You can now get started with the color work chart, just work your way through it. To keep my floaties nice and tidy, I like to trap the yarn whenever I have more than 5 to 6 stitches, and here's how I do it. Another tip I have is to stretch out the stitches a little before changing color to make sure the floating yarn in the back is not too tight. Once you're done with the chart, you can cut the color bee yarn and just make 4 more rounds of knitting. If you want your socks to be higher, you can just make more rows. You're now ready to make the heel of your sock. If you have a preferred method to do it, whether it's German short rows or gasset heels, you can definitely do that. My favorite way to do heels is this variation of short rows by Stone Knits. I linked her tutorial on how to do it, so if you want to use this method, go check out her video. I really like using this method for the heels because it gives a really nice and clean finish, and I really hate doing regular short rows. Basically, with this method, instead of doing wrap and turn short rows, you just slip the first stitch, knit or purl across until one stitch before the gap. Turn and repeat until you have a third of your original stitches slipped on each side. For the second half of the heel, you'll slip the first stitch, knit or purl across until one stitch before the big gap. You'll then slip, slip, knit or purl two together, and then pick up one extra stitch. You'll repeat this until you worked all the stitches for your heel. Again, this is a really simplified explanation of this method. If you want to learn how to do this type of heel, go check out Stone Knits tutorial, it's linked below. At this point, you'll be back with 60, 66 or 72 stitches. You'll now have to make a few decreases to go back to your original stitch count, and you'll place these at the sides of the heel. Again, make sure you use a stitch marker to mark the beginning of the row so you don't lose track of it. It should be aligned with one side of the heel. You'll now go back to knitting in the round until you reach about 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches from your desired length. I recommend trying on the sock if possible to ensure the best fit. If you use tiny circular needles, like I did, it's time to move your stitches onto double-pointed needles. It's really important to have the stitches divided correctly to ensure the decreases are made in line with the sides of the heel. The tapered shape of the toes is created by alternating one row of decreases to a regular row of knitting. On the first round, you'll work 2 decreases on each side. If a decrease is at the beginning of the row, you'll slip, slip, knit. If it's at the end of the row, you'll knit 2 together. Second round is just regular knitting. Keep repeating these 2 rounds until you have 28, 32 or 36 stitches left. For closing the sock, you need to distribute the stitches onto 2 needles, one for the top and one for the bottom of the sock. My favorite way of casting off and closing the sock is using the Kitchener stitch, which ensures a tidy closure without any extra bulk. Just repeat for the other sock and remember to weave in all your ends. I hope this tutorial helped, and I would love to see your versions, so don't forget to tag me on Instagram if you decide to make these. I will try my best to stay active on here, but I'm not gonna make any promises. If there's any specific video you would like to see from me, let me know and I'll see what I can do. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.